I'm sorry, guys, we can't hear you.
Wave if you can hear us.
Now we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Wildcat. Appreciate that. All right, moving along to the agenda. Discussion and consideration, action upon the proposed agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda.
We have a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you. Now approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda is listed. Items anyone would like to be removed? Anything anyone would like to see removed? I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda and approve it as presented.
President Covello, on the consent agenda, it would be item, let me get to it here. Item 3B, the financial and wagering activity reports. In your packet, you will see on page, I believe it's 122, the live simulcast handle. That, in the packet, it actually included the month of April, so those numbers are a little high. The correct numbers should be as follows. 307 horse racing's simulcast handle for January through March was 175, 629.30. Wyoming Downs was 479,144.40. And Wyoming horse racing's handle was 539,759.20. The corrected sheet for that has been put in the new packet that's online and in the drive, so that's been corrected.
Okay, thank you. So we'll then go back and approve the consent list items with the amended item as per Director Laramendi. Again, is there anything anyone would like to see removed and considered individually? If not, then we would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent list.
We have a motion to accept the consent list.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Okay. We've accepted the consent agenda. Pardon me?
Accept it and approve it.
Yeah, you gotta do a motion to approve it now.
Okay.
President Covello, the consent list includes item number 4A and B, the minutes of the March 21st and 28th special meetings. Item 10C, the financial report and wagering activity report as corrected. Item 11A, B, C, D, E, F, G, HHR software for Blueberry, IGT, Every, Incredible Tech, AGS, Konami, and Light and Wonder. That is everything on the consent list.
Okay, again, we'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Of a motion by
I'll second that.
Commissioner Broussard, second by Commissioner Rithaler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Motion carries. Consent agenda has been approved. Now we have the minutes of the meetings of March 21st and March 28th, a special meeting. Yeah, they are, excuse me. Oh, that's on the consent list, we'll go by that. Item 5, Wyoming Downs LLC.
President Covello, item 5A is the 2025 live race officials. You'll recall the last meeting, we had 307's live race officials and Wyoming Downs live officials up for approval. Wyoming Downs' was tabled as there was some discussion about dual roles between the starter and the paddock judge. Online, we have our presiding steward, Mr. Tony Langford. If you can move him over. Also in your packet on page 23, you'll see an email from Mr. Langford that was explaining the steward's position on having dual roles for the starter and the paddock judge. I will let him speak to it once he gets logged in here, and then I will stand for questions on that before we move forward. Mr. Langford, you're in. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
There he is.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
Good.
Floor is yours.
Gentlemen, we're talking about a dual role position. Wyoming has escalated to a status that when you're talking about the safety and the integrity of our game, the starter and the paddock judge and all around the country, those are two separate roles. Excuse me. There are things that go on in that paddock that are unique to that paddock. The starter specifically at Evanston last year, we had a reduced post parade because, initially it was equipment on the racetrack. I understand they've got new tractors. However, both of those positions are critical in not only the safety, but a timely presence on that racetrack. Horses are trained. They got, a horse has to warm up during post parade. When you have a short post, it's not allowing those horses to warm up properly and to function or to perform at the level that they that's required. Secondly, you've got patrons that are trying to gamble on these races. Most patrons want to see those horses in the post. You can look at a horse, and if he's the favorite, for example, if he might be washed out, for example, those people are going to place those wagers after they see them in that post parade. The betting public is the ones that we've got to look out for. When you've got that position filled by one person, how can he do that? How can one guy be the guy in the paddock, and then if there are any changes between the beginning of that post parade, I don't care if it's a scratch, a horse is injured, whatever, that can be addressed on the racetrack. The starter should be at that gate. And, you have head numbers, that things like that need to be, if they have to be removed, if there was a scratch. They keep this is kind of a short-sighted deal, but look, if there's a change of equipment, the paddock judge, he knows it. When they get out on the racetrack to parade, there are things that we will catch. Maybe the paddock judge has to be maybe he didn't catch the fact that there was an equipment change. So that starter is over there. He knows that there's going to be an equipment change. And it kind of muddles the water a little bit. But it's not only that, it's also about the safety of it. There's a lot of horses specifically at Evanston last year. And for the lack of a better word, these horses are pretty green. A lot can happen between the post parade and those actual horses actually going into the gate. Those are two different functions. And one man is just not, it's not capable of doing both. I'm sorry. You can try all you want, but there are times when each has to take on his own role. And by doing that, you're guaranteed a more fair start, a safer start. And we got these little guys on the horseback that, they may have ridden this horse one time, or they may have never ridden this horse. A lot of things can happen. That's fundamentally why those positions should not be the same thing. That's all I've got, guys.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. So do we need to hear from anyone else?
President Covello, also in your packet on page 24, you'll see it shows the two job titles, the paddock judge and the official starter, what their roles are. That's just kind of for your information to see the differences in what they do and kind of help maybe understand where the stewards are coming from.
Mr. Lamb?
Thank you, Chairman Covello. Members of the commission, Frank Lamb, Wyoming Downs General Manager. No contest. We've submitted our application with those two, or not application, our officials list with those two positions separated. But I'd like to take just a moment, if you don't mind, to go over some of the things that we're doing that do relate to the officials list. It'll just take me a couple of minutes. Wyoming Downs, ECL actually, bought a lot of equipment recently. Unfortunately, Northern California racing is in dire straits. With the closing of Golden Gate a year ago, things just started spiraling in the wrong direction. And they had an unsuccessful meet at Pleasanton to try to replace Golden Gate. It didn't work. They're losing their fares. As of yesterday, actually, the last one at the California Horse Racing Board meeting was denied dates. And so there is no racing in Northern California this year for the first time in over 100 years. The California Association of Racing Fairs had a lot of equipment and they wanted to sell it. And we wanted to buy it. And so we did. And when I say a lot of equipment, I mean a lot of equipment. There was 21 total pieces. We've got, this is not a complete list, but there's 6 John Deere tractors, 5 of them 300 horsepower range with tracks, 4 roller harrows, 2 floats, 1 rototiller, 3 motor graders, 3 water trucks, and most importantly, I think, a McKinsey horse ambulance, state-of-the-art, first one in Wyoming. We're really excited. It actually gets delivered today. So I think that's something that we can all appreciate, I hope. With that equipment, it kind of ties in with what the steward was saying, that Tony was saying, that some of the delays we had was equipment, and it was. We were being extra cautious last year to make sure the TrackMan had all the time he needed to make sure that track was prepared the way he wanted it every race. And he took a little extra time, and that was fine. We didn't have a problem with that. We realized, though, that we needed something more, and we went out and got it. So instead of running 2 tractors and 2 harrows, we'll be running 3 tractors and 3 harrows. And if we need to run 4 tractors and 4 harrows, we've got them. We've got 7 roller harrows now and 5 tractors capable of pulling them. I think that we will handle that situation that Mr. Langford was referring to about the time between races, and get that situation straightened out. One of the other things that we're doing that starts Monday is putting in the new safety rail, Duralock safety rail. The old rail's been taken out. The new one was delivered last week. And we have the surveyor coming Monday and starting that process. I'm really excited about that as well. Another thing that we're doing is putting together a new race office. This one is kind of interesting. We had an opportunity to change the location of it. Ever since that track was built, we've had a problem of, to get licensed, you had to come into the restricted area. So you had to come through the stable gate in a restricted area without a license to get a license. And so once that person would walk through that gate, we didn't know where they went. So now we're going to put this racing office just outside the gate, or not the gate, but the restricted area, but there'll be an access from there, a walk-through gate for horsemen to come in to the racing office or kitchen or the licensing office. But also on the other side, someone that's not licensed can come in, get a license, and then they're eligible to go in onto the backside. And that'll give us also an opportunity to make offices to have more room for licensing, because when I was director of the commission, it was one of the things that always drove me crazy was the long lines getting licensed and the congestion and stuff. And some of it you can't help, but I think we've got a clean slate now. We can work with Nick and the licensing staff to just create something that will really flow well for them and make their job easier. And we'll be able to give the stewards more room. The stewards haven't had near the room they need to conduct their business. They have very important hearings on a weekly basis. And I'm, as a board member and founding board member of ROPE, which is the organization that trains and puts on the steward schools, I'm a very, very strong supporter of stewards and them being able to do their job. And so we're going to try to make that a lot better for them as well. Along with that acquisition of equipment, we were able to obtain some portable barns. And as we speak, there's about 5 truckloads a day showing up at the racetrack. So 350 stalls. Our plan is to have 2 of those barns up before the race meet starts. So it'll bring us to almost 900 stalls. And which is still not quite enough, believe it or not. There's just such an interest in racing in Wyoming, it's unbelievable. Everybody wants to come here. And of course, part of it is, that Northern California lost their racing, but everybody sees Wyoming as the rising star. And we're pretty excited about that. And one last thing, we noticed last year, we've always had just one clocker in the morning, but we're getting so many horses now, and of course with more stalls means more horses. So it's getting busier in the morning. So I'm going to try to do 2 clockers to try to set up a system to make that a lot better and help with the accuracy, the timing of the horses. And so we'll have one clocker stationed upstairs that can see the whole racetrack and one clocker stationed downstairs that can take the work cards. They have to turn in a work card to that clocker, and then we know what horse it is, and then kind of streamline that. So, and that'll just make it a better system, and I think everyone will be pleased with that. But that's about it. If there's any questions, I'd stand for questions.
Any questions for Mr. Lamb?
Mr. President, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
This could be for Tony or Frank, but going back to the position, the 2 positions being held by one person, as the advantage of that, if I get it right, is the starter is going to be in the paddock and observing horses prior to the start, right?
He could be.
He could be, but if he has that dual job, he would be.
Correct.
In the past, that starter was in the paddock and if there was a problematic horse or a green horse, like Tony said, then that starter can assign horses based on what he observes. Are you tracking what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if that's not the case, who communicates that to the starter and the actual cadre of starters?
That, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Broussard, that would probably be the paddock judge would communicate that to the starter.
So then this person's going to have to go to the starting gate, or will the starter be in the paddock waiting for the communication, or what?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Broussard, they have radio communication.
Okay. And all those details need to be communicated in 10 minutes, I guess, or?
Yeah, the horses usually, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Broussard, the horses usually go on the track roughly 10 minutes before post time. So yeah, there's 10 minutes to communicate those things.
I guess, so it's a huge advantage, I guess, I've not held either one of these jobs, but it would be an advantage to observe the horses as a starter prior to them going to the starting gate. Is that?
President Broussard.
I thought it was my question.
Is that you, Frank?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Broussard, I can't say whether to be an advantage or not. I mean, that's an opinion, and I'd just be giving you opinions. And if you want my opinion, I could tell you, but as far as something concrete, no, I couldn't tell you that.
It's not that important, or it is important to, I guess what I'm trying to get to is, should the starter be observing? But then the starter has other responsibilities to make sure the starting gate's in the right place and plenty of time. But to me, if we're in a place where there's a lot of young green horses, as a starter, I'd want to assign I know all people are equal, but I'd want to assign my more equal people to the more problematic horse, I guess is what I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman, and
Thinking it, or is
yeah,
that-
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Broussard, and I think the starter can do that. I mean, the starter pretty much knows most of these horses because of the morning workouts. They spend 3 hours, 5 days a week in this schooling horses on the racetrack, and so he keeps a record of all the horses, so he pretty much knows. But in the situation you're referring to would be if something just looked particularly fired up, and I think that those things can be communicated. I have no problem splitting the positions. Excuse me. It's just again, it's opinions, and there's major racetracks do have dual roles. Maybe not the paddock or paddock judge and starter, but I mean, Belmont Park, when you watch the Belmont next week, the paddock judge is also a patrol judge. He goes out and observes the races from a tower. So, I mean, there are things, but I'm not questioning this. I'm not, we've made arrangements to fill those positions the way that fits with what the commission's, or what staff has directed.
Anyone else? Let me go ahead, the floor is yours. Okay, go ahead.
Can speak, I think.
You're on. Hey, Nick, gentlemen, what Frank is saying is true. When Churchill, as a judge and a paddock judge, they can do that. But the starter position, that starter has already, he knows these horses. He sees them every morning. He knows the bad actors. So on race day, that's not, he's already aware of these horses going forward. That paddock judge, the differentiation is that, and there are things in the paddock that will occur on race day. But that's addressed by the paddock judge. Again, the starter's primary responsibility, once those horses leave the paddock, they parade, he needs to be ready over there at the gate. Frank knows that. And I think Frank understands that. Uh, with the new equipment that Frank referenced earlier, that's going to make for a timely post parade. And again, those two jobs, it's, I don't want to go on a preaching tour here, but Wyoming is an ascending state. We got to raise the bar a little bit, and that's going to help us. Because again, it's all about the patrons. Those patrons need to be able to view those horses in the post parade. And if I'm a patron and I have my $2, I want to be able to see those horses and know with full confidence that the decision I've made to gamble is the right one. I know it's kind of a convoluted way to approach it, but the patron is the one that we've got to protect. Secondarily, the safety of it all, for me, is paramount, even more so than the patron in this instance. Those two, any racetrack that I've been to in the last 40 plus years, back in the bushes, that's how you would have those dual roles. Unfortunately, or fortunately rather, we're not back in the dark ages. We're not back in back in the 60s, hell, one guy might have 2 or 3 jobs. But with the product that we're putting out there now, I think we need to elevate it. And I think Frank knows well that this game is, look at the monies that Wyoming has right now. I'm proud to be here. And I think that all those that I work with feel the exact same way. By elevating the game, we're going to make Wyoming a leader in this country. Any questions for me?
Any questions for Tony? Frank, anything else? So Nick, we need to take action on race officials?
President Broussard, that is correct. And as Mr. Lamb said, they submitted a new updated 2024 officials list, and now their their paddock judge and their starter are different people. So
Okay,
theirs is good to go. So
that
if you'd like-
satisfies what Tony's talking about.
It does.
Okay.
Would you like me to read through this list real quick so we can?
Probably we should, yes,
Okay.
for the record.
So Wyoming Downs, I'm sorry, one other thing real quick. I had just forwarded you all an email of all of the new equipment list breakdown from Wyoming Downs as Mr. Lamb was talking about it. So you'll all have that email to see the list of that equipment. So for the 2025 race season, Wyoming Downs has submitted the following list of officials for approval. The general manager is Mr. Frank Lamb. His assistant is Mr. Wyatt Diedrichson. Track superintendent is Steve Woods. Track safety officer is Aldo Zamora. The racing secretary is Sean Windsor. His assistant will be Ann Prost. The stewards are the patrol judges and placing judges. Mr. Andrew Hubert is the mutual manager. Dennis Hall is the paddock judge. Darren Hall is the starter. The photo finish provider is Moonlight Racing. Dennis Hall is also the identifier. With that dual position with the paddock judge and the identifier, that has been cleared with the stewards. They don't have any problems with that because both of those positions work in the paddock. So they don't have to go back and forth. The timer and clocker oh man, I'm going to say Miss Para. Is that right? I'm going to say Miss Para. I'm not even going to try the first name. The clerk of scales is Mr. Madera. Jockey room custodian is Karen Fades, and the stall superintendent is Dennis Hall. The bookkeeper is Miss Laura Largent. Tow company is United. Ambulance service is Uinta County Ambulance. Security is provided by Wyoming Downs. They contract with people, they hire them, they're on Wyoming Downs payroll. The announcer is Mr. Mike. I'm going to go with the first name on that one. And their lead outrider is Miss Vicky Warhol. I believe that is all. So we would be looking for a motion to approve their 2025 race officials as presented.
Okay, that's the complete list then.
That is correct.
Should be getting to it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, in our packet, it's listed as providers for the 2024 racing season, but it's actually 2025. Okay. And
That is
that's the
correct.
list.
It's
The list that you
2025.
just read with updated paddock and starters, so.
That is
okay.
correct. Mr. President, I would just point out that Mr. Lamb used the wrong form.
Okay, Frank, it's your fault.
We can't approve it.
What?
That's last year.
Okay, so we have an updated list, and then they have updated, the one he just read, there's updated, there's an update, so that's why he just read it. So we have different paddock, judge, and starter.
Chairman Cabello, may I have a question?
Commissioner Ritholler.
Is this approving just Wyoming Downs, or will we be approving all of them together?
This is just for Wyoming Downs race officials.
One at
We'll
a
get to
time.
Wyoming horse racings a little bit further on
Okay,
in the day.
I would make a motion to approve the officials as newly submitted, or however you want, how do you want to put that in?
As
Just
presented.
as just presented. Thank
Okay,
you.
we have a motion on the floor to approve the officials for Wyoming Downs as presented by Director Laramendi.
2025.
For 2025, to be sure, for sure. We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Discussion. Any discussion? Amongst commissioners, amongst the public? We'll proceed to vote at this point. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay? Unanimous. Let's move on to item 5B.
President Cavello, item 5B is a request from Wyoming Downs LLC for a location transfer. They are seeking to transfer their OTB license from 51 I-25 Frontage Road, which is what we refer to as Senator's Steakhouse, to a new location that will be built off of Exit 2, Terry Ranch Road. In your packet, starting on page 29, you'll see the request, as well as all of the submitted documentation. The site plan for this location shows that the location of 600 proposed HHR terminals. The 600 request is 474 more than what was approved at Senator Steakhouse. Laramie County Resolution 250401-14 authorized Wyoming Downs to conduct parimutuel wagering on live horse racing, historic horse racing, and simulcast events. And in the report, I actually had the wrong address. It is Terry Ranch Business Park, Tract 4 in Laramie County. This resolution contains the following. There is no more than 600 machines may be located on the premises without county approval. And once this site transfer is complete, Laramie County Resolution 230207-14 will be revoked. That Laramie County resolution was the authorization for the Senator Steakhouse. So once this is built and approved and they open, the Senator Steakhouse no longer has county approval and no longer would have approval from this commission to operate an OTB in that location. It also states that it cannot be transferred without county approval, and the resolution is good for 5 years. Currently, the City of Cheyenne and County of Laramie has 8 operational OTBs with 9 approved. The total terminals approved for Laramie County is 1,933, with currently 967 operational. This addition brings the total approved terminal count to 2,407. Laramie County has a population of 100,512 people, according to census.gov as of 2024. Roughly 88,000 of those are over the age of 18. The current statewide average terminal per person rate is approximately 1 terminal for every 100 people. Laramie County's rate would be 1 terminal for every 36 people, coming in higher than the statewide average. It should be noted that the recent Spectrum Gaming study stated that Laramie County is operating at 1.02% of AGI for HHR and is operating above the estimated levels. It's also important to note that this build is kind of going in line with what the Spectrum study had stated, that to grow this market, they need to focus on border locations and drawing business from outside. That's exactly what this plan is to do. In your packet, starting on page 39, you can see all of the concept drawings. They're pretty in-depth. And there is also a third-party feasibility study that starts around page, I think it starts on page about 80. Again, this is a transfer, so this would not be adding an additional location in Laramie County. This would be moving from one to another. It would be an increase in terminals, but not increase in numbers of locations. I would stand for any questions on this one, if you all have any.
Questions from the commissioners? So once again, this will be a transfer and an increase in terminals of 474 machines.
Move to adopt the site transfer, OTB site transfer.
We have a motion to adopt the OTB site transfer from Frontage Road to Terry Ranch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bowl. Discussion amongst the commissioners first. Is there any discussion? General public, any discussion amongst the general public? Oh, here come the troublemakers. Is there anyone that has their hand raised? Yes, Mr. Thompson, the floor is yours. Mr. Thompson, do you have some discussion with regards to this transfer?
Hey, good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Troy Thompson, Laramie County Commissioners here in Cheyenne, just voting in favor of this or in support of this. Wyoming Downs has been a good community partner. They came to the commission, discussed this for us, with us before the meeting. And then, of course, our commission voted unanimously to approve this. So speaking in support of that, and I would certainly stand for questions if there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. We appreciate hearing from the county commissioners. We were there yesterday in Lander to visit with you folks, and it's important that we understand how you feel about these things. Anyone with any questions for Mr. Thompson?
Mr. President, one on a side note as well, on April 22nd, I sent a notice to all county and city officials from the top down. We have not received any public comment or opposition from either local government, just so you know.
Okay. Well, at this point, we'll go ahead and turn the floor to Wyoming Downs.
Thank you, Chairman Cavello. Tracy Laycock, I serve as general counsel for both Wyoming Downs and 307 Horse Racing. We're very excited about this project. It's a big project. And as Executive Director Laramendi did a great job of explaining, in alignment with the study, 2 things. One is that this is a transfer of a location instead of adding an additional location in Laramie County. And 2 is focusing on where the market is not saturated in Laramie County, which is pulling from that Colorado, Nebraska, population to have them come, spend their money, and then go home. So we're excited about the project, and we're hope for approval today. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ridgway.
Kyle Ridgway with Wyoming Downs. I just kind of want to add a couple of things. You know, the study that we submitted is pretty in-depth in explaining, you know, where the projected customer base is going to come from. I think it said something like, 7 to 9% of the revenues projected to actually come from Cheyenne or Laramie County proper, which is in line with what the Spectrum study said. This facility will have over 100 full-time employees located at that facility. So there's a pretty extensive back of house for this facility for employees, locker rooms, food stations, conference room, et cetera. The two combined entities, Wyoming Downs and 307, currently employ over 400 people in the state of Wyoming. We have over 30 people in the Wyoming corporate offices. And when I say corporate offices, that includes myself, general counsel, accountants, marketing people, like real significant jobs in Wyoming. As Frank Lamb talked about earlier, we just spent well over $1 million on equipment for the 2 race meets, which is a significant investment in Wyoming. This project is also a significant investment in Wyoming. It would take our company to well over 500 employees. These are benefited jobs with health insurance and the like for folks that normally would work in these industries, don't have access to that kind of income and benefit package. We have a Wyoming-based general contractor lined up to do this job in line with the 307 first mission. This will be a knock-on effects of the construction for this project with Wyoming-based folks building it, Wyoming people being employed there, Wyoming people being trained at this facility. I've been to the facility that this is modeled after, and it's an incredible facility. There is nothing like it in Wyoming. We're lucky to have financial partners with us that have built projects like this. We're ready to get going, probably in the next month, to begin doing dirt work and things like that. So this is these two companies are investing tens of millions of dollars in Wyoming. And I just think that's really important to note, not just in this facility, but at the racetracks too, in terms of purses. And when this facility is open and that revenue is generated, that's going to go back to these racetracks in these 2 locations in terms of purses, in terms of continued capital improvements. I think you've seen that in the last year in a way that you'd never seen before. So those are my comments about this project. I think it's just an incredible opportunity for the state.
Thank you, Mr. Ridgway. Is there anyone that has any questions for these two while they're here and immediately available?
President Covello,
Yes.
could you give a timeline, like a build timeline? Do you have an idea of a estimated opening time?
The goal would be to open before the end of 2026.
Wow. Okay. Anyone else? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? None.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I'd like for you to read the motion again.
The motion on the floor is to approve the on-site transfer of the OTB from I-25 Frontage Road to Terry Ranch Road. That does include the increase of machines to a total of 600.
Okay, all right, I just wasn't clear because I didn't see any request for an increase in number of machines. I see it in the plan, but not a specific request.
And it is included. I want to concur with Director Laramendi on that. Is that correct? That is part of the,
That is correct. It was part of the submission. I'm trying to get back to the page
okay.
real quick.
My deal's freezing up.
If you look on page 29 in your packet, that's the letter from General Counsel that talks about the increase in the terminals, and it's also noted in the internal report starting on page 32 with the increase in terminal counts.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on. Item number 6, Wyoming Horse Racing LLC, 2025 live race officials.
President Cavello, item 6A, 2025 live race officials for Wyoming Horse Racing. We'll go back to some of the conversation we had earlier today. Wyoming Horse Racing is requesting the dual roles of their starter and their paddock judge. I'll let them explain their position on that first, and then I can go through the list as we move forward.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, President Cavada. Sean Byrne, General Manager, Wyoming Horse Racing, LLC, out of Sweetwater Downs. We had an extensive discussion, Mr. Joyce and I, and Mr. Joyce has got 14 years of experience here in the state, and with all respect to Stewart, Mr. Langford, he's had conversations with him as well. We feel like the position of paddock and starter at our facility has not been an issue for us. And it is a safety issue as well. Our starter knows these horses. He knows how they behave in the morning, just like Mr. Langford said. And having that same person in the paddock when the horses come over makes us feel more comfortable. We went back and actually looked at Equibase charts for 2024, and we did have 4 instances where our races went over. Several of those were due to circumstances you just can't control on track. You know, perhaps a horse gets loose, or there's an incident with a jockey, or any of a number of things, including weather. So we would respectfully request that you approve this position, because we don't feel like these issues apply to Sweetwater Downs.
Very good. Is there anyone like to have any questions?
President Cavello, would you like me to go through their entire list now?
Please.
Wyoming Horse Racing's 2025 racing officials list. General Manager, Mr. Burney. Their track superintendent is Mr. Frischnick. Track safety officer is Dennis Hall. Their racing secretary is Sean Windsor. The patrol and placing judges is the stewards. Their mutual manager is Miss Nina Condos. Their paddock judge, as submitted, is Darren Hall. Their starter, as submitted, is Darren Hall. Their photo finish provider is now actually Wyoming Horse Racing. Wyoming Horse Racing purchased all of the equipment from
Mr. Phelps.
Yes, from last year when he retired. So they have all of his equipment, so that'll continue on. Their identifier is Mr. Dennis Hall. Their timer is Bobby Webb. Their clerk of scales is Bobby Webb, and their jocks room custodian is Bobby Webb. Just for the record, those 3 combined, there's not any issues with that. Again, those all take place basically in the jocks room, and the timer in the clocker position doesn't work when the clerk of scales is working. The stall superintendent is Dennis Hall. Their bookkeeper is Miss Susie Copenhaver. United Tote is the tote company. Castle Rock Hospital District is the ambulance service. Wyoming Horse Racing also contracts for their security. Their announcer by committee. Not exactly sure what that means. I talked to Mr. Joyce about this. Announcer's not really an official that we have listed in our book anyway, so I'm not sure why it's on this list. And their lead outrider is Billy Wainscote. Their handicapper is John Everly, and I would stand for any questions on their list.
Commissioner Ritholler.
Thank you. Question I have, you have the same, basically the same people as paddock judge and starter. They just switched them around before. That is not doable here?
We discussed that, President Cavello, Commissioner Ritholler. We did discuss that, but if we made that change, that would put Mr. Hall, Dennis Hall in 4 positions And we felt, we just felt like that wouldn't be a good fit for us.
I just was curious because it's both Darren and Dennis Hall, and they
Yeah.
switched him before
And
as paddock judge.
And Darren had more experience with horses and the handling of horses, and that's why we felt he would be better served as the paddock judge as opposed to being the identifier.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Broussard.
Sean, do you see this as a one of, you've made arrangements for these folks this year? Do you see moving in the direction that our stewards suggest? Or is this something you don't see any change on in the future?
President Covello, Commissioner Broussard, I think that's something we could consider down the road. We're asking for this year to see how it goes. If you would grant us that opportunity to do it this year, we'd like to proceed ahead. And if we have problems, and if it becomes an issue, we'll deal with it on track. Mr. Joyce and myself will be there every day. And if it becomes a problem, we'll work with Mr. Langford to make sure that we fix it. So, and then I think moving down the road, it may be something that we want to consider. We'll have to look at that. I just got here. I haven't been here for a full season of live racing yet. I'm relying on Mr. Joyce's experience, and he's been doing it for a long time.
Follow up,
Okay,
please.
yeah, absolutely.
And again, I apologize for not knowing this, but were these the same folks as last year doing these jobs, or are they different?
President Covello, Commissioner Broussard. For the most part, our staff is pretty consistent. We do have a new outrider this year with Billy
I
Wainscott.
just mean the dual job position.
Yes, he did the same positions last year, yes,
Were there
sir.
issues last year? Did you see?
As far as from what Mr. Joyce told me, other than the incidents that I mentioned on track, we didn't have much of an issue or a weather-related type issue in staying to our post times. We were off maybe 4 days out of the entire season, of the 18 days that we ran.
You just need to say yes.
President Covello, we have Commissioner Schiffer who raised his hand and also Randy.
Okay, Commissioner Schiffer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wondered if Mr. Langford was still on the line and could opine how he feels about this dual role at this particular track. Thank you.
Mr. Langford, are you still on the line?
Yes. Can you hear me?
The floor is yours. Would you like to answer Commissioner Schiffer's question?
Yes, the question I have is, and I understand that Eugene wants essentially a carve out for Rock Springs, but how is it fair to Wyoming Downs or any other racetrack for that carve out? Again, it was not as big a problem at Rock Springs as it was over at Evanston last year, but it's still the same dual role. I mean, I'm not comfortable with it, but I'm not the one that makes those decisions.
Thank you. Ms. Gotiska, floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Covello. I'm just here with the steward, so I'm trying to help them navigate through this.
Okay,
So he's not on because we're doing other business, but I'm here for when there's things for them to talk with.
okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Yes, commissioners, anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Bolt.
What I'm trying to understand, and Troy, maybe you can help me with this, is I think we're being told that splitting the paddock judge and the starter into two people improves safety. Now, if that's true, then that's a strong consideration for voting against this list. I think that's what Mr. Langford is telling us. But, I gotta admit, I don't know a starter from a paddock. I mean, I don't know their functions. So I need some comments from somebody that's more familiar with this than I am. Eugene Joyce called me about this last night. And he said what Mr. Burns said. They've been doing it for 14 years. They want to continue another year. They haven't had any problems. I told him that we would veer from a 14-year practice only if we had a good reason. And improving safety is a good reason. So, and the other two tracks have been able to do it. So it's just a management issue, and I know Eugene to be a good manager, so I think he could comply. So people who know, if they could lend me their wisdom on whether or not there's a legitimate improvement in safety by splitting the positions, that's what I would like to hear.
Commissioner,
Go ahead.
if you're asking me for wisdom, you're asking the wrong guy. But I will say that from a business perspective, I totally agree with Tony that we are a rising star and things are growing and expanding. The other side of my mind is saying this organization, this operation has made arrangements with people, and I'm willing to make a carve out in my mind for this year if they understand where we're going. And if a safety concern, we can always drop what we're doing if we say safety concern, but there's a safety concern both ways, in my opinion. So I'm looking at this as a short-term decision, not a long-term decision. Business-wise, I understand that they've had discussions with people probably 6 or 8 months ago about this, and we're making decisions now and asking them to change, make a U-turn short-term. That's my opinion. Is it wise or not? I doubt it, but that's all I got.
Yes,
Mr.
Representative Davis.
President, uniformity is always the best policy across this. When you're dealing with an industry, we don't want to, I personally don't think carve-outs are the way to go. I think a standard is what we're looking for, something equal, level playing field across, and if I understood correctly, 8 months ago, this was the standard that was set, then, I guess it's up to you to rule on that. But anyway, that's my opinion.
President Covello, Commissioner Schiffer had his hand up.
Yes.
He lowered it,
Commissioner
but I'm
Schiffer.
not sure if he has something.
Commissioner Schiffer, the floor is yours.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Mr. Bull kind of echoed my comments. So I lowered my hand. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes,
President.
Commissioner Rithaler.
Thank you, President.
Vice President, excuse me.
Yeah. I'm going to get back to my question. I know you said that Dennis wasn't qualified, or you have the starter as Daryl, and they did the same thing on the others and split the paddock judge and the starter between them two. And so where does the 3 jobs come in for if you change the paddock judge? Same list as we've had before, same people even. So that's what and you said they were more experienced, but.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Rithaler, this would give Dennis Hall 4 positions. He would hold the track safety steward. He would hold the paddock judge position. He would be the identifier, and he would also be the stall superintendent. So he would have 4 positions at the racetrack. He would be both the identifier and the paddock judge.
I guess clarification, you're saying if you split them,
Yes, sir.
that's
That's
who you would
correct.
propose then? Would be Dennis instead of Darren? If we were to force that, yeah.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Okay. Brandy, the floor is yours. Brandy, do you have your hand raised for you or for Tony?
Mr. President, I think you move to Mr. Joyce.
Okay. Mr. Joyce, floor is yours. Eugene, are you on? We can't hear you.
I think I am, Mr. President.
We got
Can
you
hear me
now.
Okay. I apologize. I didn't plan to testify. I believe that our hire of Mr. Byrne as general manager is going to put our racetrack in good stead. I am going to be involved, but you know, we'll do whatever the commission's wish is. And uniformity, I understand that. However, I will say this. The safety issue that was raised by Mr. Langford was post times going beyond the time limit of the efficacy of the Lasix in the horses. We do not have that problem. And so whenever you have a new rule, I always ask, what is the problem you're trying to fix? We don't have that problem at Sweetwater Downs. And I will tell you that we believe combining the positions improves the safety at our racetrack. And it is our responsibility and our liability in that regard. And so I just want to state that for the record. However, we will do whatever is the wish of the commission here, but I just wanted to emphatically state that to the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joyce. Is there anyone else that would like to address this?
President Covello, just so we're clear on this, this isn't a new rule. This rule's been on the books for quite some time about the dual roles, and no person should hold dual roles without the vote of the commission. This isn't something that was new, it's just.
We've overlooked it in the past.
I wouldn't say overlooked it, I think it's been approved in the past every year when we've done officials. I think part of this also, this discussion started when we revamped the safety committee, and the safety committee was reviewing some of this with the fatalities we had in '22. And this was part of that as well, so.
Who else has their hand raised? Okay. So we have no one else at this time? All right, well, we need to make a ruling on these officials. So what is your pleasure, commissioners?
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve the 2025 live race officials for Wyoming Horse Race LLC.
As presented?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second it as presented.
We have a motion and a second to present, to approve the officials as presented.
And that's the 25 it is.
Yes, and that does say 25 on it. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve this list as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
I'm going to ask you for you to call the vote, please.
President Covello.
Nay.
Commissioner Torgerson is absent. Commissioner Bull.
No.
Commissioner Schiffer.
Aye.
Commissioner Broussard.
Yes.
Vice President Rithaller.
Nay.
Commissioner Cura.
Nay.
Commissioner Francisco.
Yes.
Commissioner Wildcat.
Yes.
President Covello, let me do the math here real quick.
It's a tie,
4-4.
Then it fails.
It does stand.
Tie stands.
Yeah.
It's a tie?
President Covello, with the tie, it would fail.
Okay, according to our, okay, it fails. Okay, so as presented fails, so we will need to then,
President Covello, we can revisit this one in our next meeting. We'll have time to do this one, or if we need to try to do something ahead of time so they can get their stuff lined up. You know, I can still work
That
with
work
them
for
and
you?
we can try to figure this out.
very good. All right, thank you. All right, moving on. Item 7, 307 Horse Racing LLC.
President Cavello, item 7A is just a racetrack inspection for 307 Horse Racing. Today is opening day up in Gillette. They're going to start running this afternoon or this evening. In your packet on page 113, you will see a letter from Equine Risk Management just showing that they completed their safety inspection. They didn't see anything that would prevent them from running, currently. I will say that Mr. Steinberg and I were up there on Monday. The track looks phenomenal. Pretty exciting to see that we're starting racing again. I would stand for any questions on this. We will have a complete report within the next probably 2 weeks.
Very good. So we have a discussion on this then. So we do need to approve this, or?
President Cavello, this is just informational. It's no
Okay, very
action.
good. All right, then we'll move right along. Cowboy Racing.
President Cavello, item number 8A is updates from Cowboy Racing. I will let them take it from here.
Good morning. Bill and Will, how are you?
We're okay.
Wind blown.
Yeah. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So I was here March and just. as
Will,
an
would you
update-
state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I
please?
apologize.
Thank
My
you
name
very
is
much.
Will Edwards.
Just so everybody online knows.
My name is Will Edwards. I'm with Cowboy Racing LLC, Cheyenne, Wyoming. In March, I was here giving you a real brief update about where we are with the construction with the track. At that time, things were just starting to melt and spring was just starting to wake up, and we were looking at the very beginning of our critical path for the construction season. There wasn't a lot to report at that, other than the fact that we were getting started and we were looking at the road ahead. Since then, we have about seven weeks under our belt since then, and we've experienced about 2 snow events, intermittent rain, and wet conditions. I will say that the entire site is to grade, and we are progressing very rapidly and earnestly with the critical path. We've completed most of all the access roads, which is about 2 miles of county road, gravel roads that are built to county standards. We're completing our second access, which is a secondary private access to the site that's been approved by YDOT, and we're just waiting for cattle guards and some paving. And then all that will be complete. Just as a real quick reminder, we spent most of the winter polishing up, numbering, lengthening posts, and getting our rail system that we salvaged from Golden Gate Fields in San Francisco. And so that is all on pallets, ready to go and ready to be installed. Right now, what we've been doing since the beginning of the season is processing material, mainly for the base course and the cushion. To date, we're just shy of about 10,000 cubic yards of material that we have processed on site. I'll let Bill elaborate a little bit more on that, but it is quite been the extensive process. With the rain and the moisture, I mean, it tends to clump and clog our screens. And so every time it rains, we get a little bit of moisture, even though I wouldn't consider this being a very, wet spring. It has set us back in certain regards. But nonetheless, we are still very much moving forward with our critical path. The phasing narrative that we submitted back with our application back in November is pretty much complete. All the permanent things that we have represented that we were going to complete are either very much underway and on the path of being completed, or that they are in fact actually already done and checked off the list. I will give a couple examples of what we've experienced in the last seven weeks or so. One was the discovery by Dennis Moore that our oval was 9 feet too round. And this is relevant because we measure the mile, the length of the track, 3 feet off the face of the rail. What the radiuses of our oval were measured off the rail face itself. Thus, it created our as-built design, 9 feet too round of an oval. Now, we can still race like that, and there's no problem there. There's variances in the oval radiuses all across the country. But just to give you an example of our commitment to the excellence of this project, we spent a lot of time redesigning and moving dirt and repositioning the oval to where it is a perfect mile. That means every furlong represents an eighth of the mile in its appropriate place. And so that is just what we wanted to do. And to that end, it's one of those things that we could live with, but knowing that in the back of my mind, knowing that the oval isn't perfect, just was not sitting well. So we went ahead and made that change. Hiring the top experts is a bit of a double-edged sword. They are holding us to a standard that we are committed to meet, but it has resulted in a lot of creative out-of-the-box thinking, like making the oval perfect, for example, sourcing different materials and sands from around the state, just to get our surfacing perfect. But in the end of the day, we're confident that we're going to have a state-of-the-art track. And so we undertook this extremely monumental task, and to some degree, I keep likening it. It is like we're trying to build Rome in a day. We are committed to making the track compliant with the highest national standards. This typically takes years in other examples across the country. And to be realistic, we are dependent on every aspect of this project performing 100% perfectly in order for us to perform 100% perfectly. Do you have any updates on the construction of the track itself?
I can comment
Yeah.
after you're done.
Well, go for it.
Since I was
Bill Edwards.
Bill Edwards, president of Edwards Construction, Edwards Development, I'm pretty much in charge of the construction of the track. Since I was here last time, we've moved a little over 50,000 additional yards of dirt, which was the remaining amount of dirt in the area for the barns and all of that service area that's going to take care of the horses. That material was stockpiled along with other specific material to be processed with a screening plant into our track surface, of which on site we have about 75% of what we need for the surface. There are some specific sieve sizes for the sand that'll need to be imported, enough so that it's a big ticket item. But this whole process of processing the material, I'll get into that just a little bit more, just maybe you don't want to hear it, but it's been it's quite a process. So we have to deal with Wyoming DEQ, as does any other earth-moving project related to erosion, specifically dust. And so we have to apply water to the site, quite a bit of water, which has to be trucked in, I might add. In that process of moving the remaining 50,000 yards, that material being stockpiled for processing had quite a bit of moisture in it. Once it's stockpiled, it'll hold that moisture pretty well, regardless of a record windy winter that we've had. So we kind of have the worst of two worlds 8 weeks ago as we began to finally be able to process material. The material's wet, we have to roll it over, dry it out, and at the same time, we need to keep the site moist because of the dust blowing. So it's been maddening. In the last 2 months of processing material, we are at least 50% behind where I wanted to be. The process for the screen means that we stop about every hour, and guys go up there with these special chains and run them through to get the wet material out of the sieves and the screens. And so in the last 2 months, we've been able to process, or excuse me, we've been able to actually produce about 5 weeks of work. So that's where we're at. We continue to run the screen today. It takes 5 men. It takes 2 loaders. We've got belly dumps and trucks on site. We've got a water tower on site. All of that is under construction. We've got a bulldozer on site, and we're continuing ahead. It just is not going as well as I had hoped from a time perspective, and it is largely weather-related. And so beyond that, we've gotten all of our final drainage designs, reports, and so forth in place. Pipe and bids are in place. As Will said, all of the safety railing has been worked out, numbered, replaced, any pieces. It's ready to be installed. The roads you mentioned, we've done about 30 or 40% of the reclamation, which may have been a mistake. That was done in the fall, which is really the optimum time, but we've had a heck of a lot of wind. So we're not sure, we haven't had enough rain to really even tell us how well it's done. It's been a little bit of a maddening process, as you might imagine, and you're all welcome to come see the site, to stand out at this track and to see how big it really is. It's pretty impressive, at least I feel it is. That's about it.
Yeah, well, I'm not ashamed to say that, we have well over, at this point today, we have well over $7 million invested into this project. And we continue to spend more money every day funding it. And we're committed to seeing it through. We really care about our city, we care about the county, we care about the state, and we care about this project. More importantly, because we care about horse racing in this state. You hear how we have an emerging industry and things are growing and that we need to bring things to a higher standard. That is where we see the future of it. What I'm leading into is some of the storm clouds that I want to come and tell you about that we are seeing on the horizon. Last fall, about mid-September, we started our conversations with High West Energy. They're our electrical provider in the area, and we commissioned a transmission study last October for them to do a power study to see what it would take to bring our power. And it doesn't matter how much power we require. We were requesting 4,000 amps. What we can go down to is 1,200 amps. That doesn't matter. The infrastructure improvements are the same. So they did that transmission study that resulted in design, that resulted in contracts and looking at different ways that they could bring it in more cost-effective manner. But at the end of the day, I received on April 22nd of this year, a couple weeks ago, an email saying that they are unable to bring us power in time for our race dates this year. That doesn't make racing impossible, but every day the race meets in 2025 become more and more impractical to where it's not sensible to do racing. We are trying to do the best as we can, and I think everybody would agree with us that nobody wants us to fail in October.
No.
Nobody wants to set this up for a big disaster in October. We want to do this right, and that means in a lot of regard not forcing it. I would like to note at this time that we received approval from the county, Laramie County Commissions on OTB sites. We have spent money, we continue to spend money with the owners of some of those sites. We have done the design. We have all mechanical and electrical design work done for these sites. We are ready to turn them into OTBs, but we have not brought those to your approval, to your desk, because it is important for us to know that we are racing this year or racing the same calendar year before opening up the OTBs. Our focus is 100% on this track and not the OTBs right now. And that's why you haven't seen that from us. In addition to some of the other storm clouds, the High West Energy one was a big setback. will also say that I received Wednesday, there's an oil and gas pad on the site. Some of you may know from the site plan. They have drilled their wells, but I was told Wednesday that they plan on fracking the site right along our race meet. That's a little bit out of our control, but that, again, adds an element that makes this impractical. There's lights and noise, as you know, and more importantly, there's trucks coming and going out of control that we won't have control over. I have not seen it yet, and our vendors are saying that we haven't seen it yet, but to expect it. With regards to barn stalls and panels, the two biggest construction materials that we are relying on for completing out this track are steel and aluminum. And like I said, I haven't seen it yet, but I've told to expect that the tariffs are going to cause delays in that regard. Which brings me to the big problem of impracticality is that I can't in good conscience go out and hire all the people that we need, knowing that if we miss the materials by 2 weeks, 3 weeks, these people don't have a job that they were counting on. To staff this thing up and have people wait on a hope is not ethical. And so those are the problems that we have. So in short, I'm here today to tell you that despite our efforts, despite our strong efforts and our continuing investment into this project, that we are here to ask for brainstorming on an extension. We have several ideas of what that looks like. Mainly one is that, I know this commission has a lot of broad discretion, and I know variances have been, granted in the past, extensions and amendments. I would like this commission to possibly reconsider granting our simulcast permit from the 1 year that it was limited to 3 years, and then giving us a waiver for the 2025 race season, knowing that we aren't going to open OTBs until it's the same calendar year of racing. That would be contingent on us giving you reports every meeting like we are right now, and showing you the progress that we continue to make on the track on this project. Another example would be just simply amend our 2025 race days to 2026 race dates. I think there's a number of different legal avenues that we could talk about doing this, but I'm here hat in hand today telling you that despite our best efforts and a lot of situations are out of our control, that we just don't think it's practical to race this year. Yes.
Bill Edwards again. I just want to fill in a little blanks on High West Energy, and I don't at all want the commission to think we're coming here with excuses. These are not excuses. These are just real world things that typically we wouldn't necessarily run into. It's been one strange setback after another, but I want to talk about High West just a minute. Cheyenne is experiencing a tremendous need for power with the Microsoft expansion, which is now Microsoft owns up to, I believe, 8 different sites, about 4 of which are developed. Facebook, they go by Meta, or they go by a bunch of different names that they don't want people to know who they are. Huge site. Cosmos, yes, thank you. And now numerous other smaller ones are coming to town. So the power companies, Black Hills, all the way to Western Power and the power plants, are now requiring these power studies. Up until this last year, we didn't have to do this. And as in our first correspondence with them, they said this should not be a problem, proceed, so on and so forth. So when we begin to set up meetings, it's a power study, which cost quite a bit of money. That was last fall. It took them almost all winter to get back to us on this issue. And then to ultimately have a setback. But the point is, everybody having to deal with electrical power in and around Laramie County and Cheyenne is just metering this power and watching where every bit of it's going, because there's such a tremendous call for it. So it's an interesting situation we're dealing with. The fracking kind of flipped me out a little bit, because, not a little bit, a lot, because There are 6 completed wells. The drilling of that went fairly well, but these guys are the big dogs on the site. You know, they're oil, they have the mineral rights underneath. And when they want to come in and frack, they have to use their companies when they're available. Wouldn't you know, the dates would correspond with the racing. The fracking process, I think many of you here are aware of it, but it's arduous and it's noisy, and it is not something we want to deal with animals there or people. So that's basically it. Maybe I just repeated what you already said.
Well, I think it's important to note that we're here, standing here in May, mid-May, and we wanted to alert you and be transparent from as soon as we saw the dark clouds emerging. There's no sense in us waiting and faking it until later. And again, we don't know that it's impossible to race, but we feel it's incredibly impractical. And to force the issue just doesn't make sense. So again, we wanted to come as soon as we could and tell you where we're at with things. So that's where we're at today.
We appreciate that. You know, when we think about it, it's like 100 days until you'd be looking at track inspection. And so
That's right.
the stars would have to line up, it sounds like. And I think we all appreciate you coming here, hat in hand, and laying it out on the table. So commissioners, what's your pleasure here? I mean, I think they're here asking for how do they go forward?
President Covello. So this, just so we are, make sure that we do this right, this is not an action item. We just are here to figure out exactly how we move forward, whether it's, I don't know about the amending part because it was a 1-year permit. I don't know how we can amend a 1-year permit to be a new year. We're just kind of having discussion to figure out how we proceed and move forward.
We'll probably have to put Mr. Kaler to work before we're all done.
Jody also has her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jody Shea is with us. Well,
Hi, Jody, go ahead. Floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. President. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Fantastic. Thank you for your time this morning. I apologize for not being there in person. I am in Kearney, Nebraska this morning, headed to Hastings later to celebrate my niece's graduation from Hastings College. Nonetheless, I wanted to zoom in because this is very important and wanted to be a part of this conversation. So as Will mentioned, when we learned on April 22nd that High West wasn't going to be able to perform like we thought, I got a hold of Director Laramendi pretty quickly thereafter to let him know what challenges we were facing and to talk through what options we may have to essentially have a reset to 2026. To no surprise, we've presented a lot of firsts to this commission, and so we are back before you with another first for your consideration. The path forward is a little bit unclear. Nonetheless, I think that we can figure out an appropriate way to get there that's supported both by your rules and by Wyoming statute. I think as a general observation, this cowboy racing continues to satisfy all requirements for a live event application for that permit. We came before you last November, as you all recall, after having completed the application and including all of the required documents for that application, as well as the certified report of the completed track. Between then and today, as we sit here before you, nothing has changed. In fact, we are much farther down that path. So to the extent cowboy racing, if there's question as to whether or not they qualify for a live event permit, they absolutely do, in my opinion. They continue to meet all of those qualifications, regardless of how we proceed forward, whatever this legal path looks like. I do believe this commission has the ability to amend permits. I acknowledge Director Laramendi's concern that it was a 1-year permit that was granted to cowboy racing last year, as opposed to 3 years, which I think has been sort of common practice. we would ask for some collaboration and brainstorming is how we get forward from here. In listening to the multiple presentations this morning, I've noted a couple things, and I highlighted them in my notes because I think that they really strongly align with cowboy racing missions. There's been comments about raising the bar in Wyoming horse racing. As you heard from Will and Bill this morning, that aligns with their mission. In fact, that they corrected the oval, the race course oval, because it was too round. That was time and money they didn't have to expend, but they undertook to do so because the bar is raised, and the bar is raised with cowboy racing. Another comment was made by Mr. Langford that this is all about the patrons. We agree. We've got to get folks to come to the racetracks and participate in racing. We are worried that if we don't provide that first class experience in October, that's going to leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth. As Will mentioned, this is becoming impractical, not impossible yet. And that impracticality I envision is maybe presenting some clumsiness or some uncomfortable scenarios for anyone who may be involved in October. Cowboy racing included, staff of Wyoming Gaming Commission, and then, a little bit of a less than excellent experience for patrons. That's not the first foot forward that we want to put in this project. And so we hope to have a little bit more time to make sure that we really can put the cherry on top of the ice cream here. And then finally, and I think this goes without saying, but cowboy racing has invested millions of dollars in this project. Cowboy racing continues to invest millions of dollars and will do so until it's perfect. We recognize other horse tracks are doing this as well. And so it's really just been interesting seeing how we are all really on the same page. We're all swimming in the right direction and in the same direction with respect to what we want the racing industry to look like in Wyoming. We believe our request today is a reasonable one to find a lawful path forward with your help. And so we are asking for any feedback and ideas on how we get to a 2026 race season. I'm happy to stand for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
President Covello, so when this came up, Mr. Kaler and I had, some discussions about ways that we can figure this out as well. One of the things that we had discussed was the surrendering of the 2025 permits and then reapplication for further dates in 2026. That's kind of what we had thought, and I understand that, Cowboy Racing has some concerns with that because they still have to enter into contracts for power and everything else, and without certain guarantees, it's problematic. So that was one of the options that we had talked about, was just surrendering 2025, and we can move everything into 2026. That's a thought. I don't think it would be the same race dates. There's two ways to do that. Historically, we do race dates in November, but that's when we normally look at, that way we can look at all of the operators and the dates at the exact same time. So they could reapply in the November for the November fall meeting, and we could just lay it out with the rest of them at the same time. Or they could apply early and provide dates if that would be something that you all would be apt to look at.
We are certainly open to any path forward, and to the extent that we could reapply now and get those assurances. I'd like to go back to Cheyenne and sign the contract for the High West Energy tomorrow and get them going. And just so you know, I'll share you the number. It's $650,000, the course of action we're getting for the infrastructure improvements. So I don't want to wait until I have assurances for 2026 to sign that, because they have to do another study, because there's other people that come on the thing. And then we might be getting an email next year saying that we can't make 2026 dates. So it's imperative that I get that contract signed as soon as possible. And in order to do so, I need assurances. So if we could approve 2026 pending dates approval in November, that is something certainly that we'd be open to, for sure.
So the dates, President Covello, so the dates would be considered in that meeting. Like I said, it's kind of how you all want to look at it. If we want to look at receiving a new application with 2026 dates, and then you all consider that earlier than November, that's entirely up to you. There's nothing in rule or statute that says it has to be done in November. That's just what we have always done.
What's your pleasure? Commissioner Rittenhour, Vice President Rittenhour, excuse me.
Now, if they submit race days before November, does that kind of put them at an advantage for, well, now we're going to race in July and not October? That would be my concern about having.
President Covello.
And if I might finish, if they present dates, like the dates they have now, can they be changed after we get all the dates together and revamp their dates if it worked better?
President Covello, Vice President Rittenhour, yes, they could. And that is one of the reasons why we've always done it at the annual fall meeting.
Yep.
So we can look at all of the dates together and nobody gets an edge, say.
Mr. President, let me
Yes, Commissioner.
this out. So,
Sorry.
so we want to, personally, I want to help them get assurances to move forward. I want them to know that we're not going to try to impede their process. But I wasn't asking about race dates because I preferred them early. I just was wondering if we could do something and then they can have their race date discussion at a later date. They don't have to be submitted at the same time we're trying to suspend this and move them forward. I guess this is new to me, so I'm trying to figure out how we can help them without overstepping our boundaries here.
Give me a second.
Yeah, I personally, I guess, would, if I were in their shoes, I would like to have, before I submitted my race dates for 26, I would like to have a conversation with the rest of the industry to get the best dates and maybe a little better than what they have now. But have that conversation with the industry and to present later. But I also want to let them know that we're pulling for them, or I am. I want them to succeed. I know they're spending a lot of money and they're making effort. I've also done projects in Wyoming, and it's the uncontrollable variables that eat your lunch. So I feel for them. So I want to do what we can do as a commission, but not in the business of guaranteeing success. But we don't want to impede their process, I guess. That's my 2 cents. Does that make sense down in the end?
Commissioner Bowl, I know you want to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Here's my thoughts on it, you guys. I'm not surprised that you've run into obstacles. Nobody's done what you are trying to do for a long time. Nobody's tried to build a track. I agree with your sentiment that it's not a good idea to put on half-ass races for 2025. And I, for one, am open to rescheduling the races for 2026. You guys need to figure out the form in which to bring that in front of the commission. There's nothing we can do today. We can't even give you assurances. We just can't. So the sooner that you get it into a form in which the commission can make a decision, then you'll be able to move forward. Now, our next meeting is July 18th. But I am told we also do special meetings. And so that's where I see it going. You decide what's the proper form in conjunction with the staff and the commission's attorney, and get it in front of us. And then we can move forward. But today, all we can do is I can give you my horse manure filling. That's all it is. And but we can't give you any assurances or anything like that. Okay. Sounds like it's been a pretty frustrating process, and I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not. So that concludes my remarks, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowl. Anyone else?
President Covello.
Yes, go ahead.
One of the
Director
things that
Larramendi.
we could, maybe look at is getting an application for 2026 with no dates to be determined in the November meeting with everybody else's.
Yep.
Mr. Kaler and I can kind of look through that to see, how that lays out, but we could just receive a new application and, go from there.
Do a Zoom meeting?
If we needed to, that's your
Yeah, if you
pleasure.
guys need something quicker, we can do a Zoom meeting. A one-topic special, we've done it before, quick in and out. Yes, Commissioner Schiffer, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we're all somewhat of the same mind here. One of the thoughts that I think we need to get out in the open is this entity's been granted dates for 2025 and granted the simulcasting permit. Now, as it stands, if they don't run their 16 days, then their simulcasting permit is suspended, I believe, for a year. So they would not be eligible to apply for a simulcasting permit until 2027. And I think the minds of everyone is that we don't want to penalize them in that way. So I think we need some thought about it from Mr. Kaler and Mr. Larramendi is not to have that punitive part trigger by what comes next, if you understand what I'm saying. So
Yes.
I think we need to be very careful in how we proceed with this thing so that this entity is not penalized for what seems to be a reasonable problem that they're having, which was anticipated or not, but it's coming to reality. So I think as we go forward, we really shouldn't just jump into something. We need to think through this, because potentially you have other operators and et cetera who are going to be saying, well, they should be, their right to simulcast should be suspended. And, I think we need to deal with this up front so that we minimize the back end grandstanding or quarterbacking or whatever you want to call it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schiffer.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mike Kaler.
Yeah, I think as part of this process, and I'll talk to Director Larramendi about it, but it may be appropriate to put it before the commission as to making a good finding to forgive the inability to meet that 16 days for this year. And so we could probably include that in part of the process as well. And of course, it would be up to the commission to find whether or not there is good cause, and the applicant would put on I guess a presentation at that time.
Okay. Vice President Ritholler.
Thank you, President. Commissioner Schiffer said it right with a penalty, but is there a difference between having the permit and actually operating the machinery? Is that a distinguished difference where they have never had the machines operating?
President Covello, Vice President Ritholler, that's something that we're still trying to wrap our heads around. We're in a lot of new territories.
Can they withdraw their application? Does that change something?
President Covello, Commissioner Broussard, that was one of the things that we had talked about with the surrendering. Like if you surrender the permits, does that work? I'm not the attorney in the room, but I know one, and I'll keep working with him.
Thank you. So do you feel like you understand the path forward?
Yeah, thank you. I know this is a bit disappointing. It's very disappointing for us, but this is the honest reality. The truth is, though, this is a very exciting project, and I do invite you guys to come see it if you're in the area. Love to give you the tour. It's it's going to be real special. And so we're really excited about moving forward. So I appreciate your comments and I really appreciate your support. And I think we have a good idea of how to move forward. So thank you for that.
Certainly, thank you. If we're done with that item for right now, I think we're at that time of the day where we need to take a 15-minute break. I've got 10:20, we'll convene back here at 10:30. We probably should do a roll call just so we know who all's on board.
President Covello.
Yes.
Commissioner Torgerson is absent. Commissioner Bull.
Present.
Commissioner Schiffer.
Here.
Commissioner Broussard.
Present.
Vice President Redholler.
Present.
Commissioner Cura.
Here.
Commissioner Francisco.
Here.
Commissioner Wildcat.
Here.
We also have Representative Davis in the room and Governor's Liaison, Mr. Lovinaw. Senator Kolb appears to be absent as well.
Very good. All right. Item number 9, online sports wagering requests.
President Covello, item number 9A is a vendor amendment request. Continent 8 is a current online sports wagering vendor. They've been a vendor since 2021. They are in good standing. Their current application is for cloud-based storage. They would like to amend their application and also allow for multi-factor authentication. And again, they are in good standing. We've never had any issues with this vendor.
Very good. Okay, and is this an action item that we need to approve?
Yes, sir, that's
Okay, very
correct.
good.
I make a motion that we amend vendor application.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second from Vice President Ritholler. Any discussion? Discussion among the commissioners? Discussion amongst the public? Are any hands raised? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item B, wagering limiting updates and findings.
Thank you, President Covello. 9B, I touched on this a little bit at the last meeting with the limited information that we had at the time. We have now gotten all of the information from all of the operators on all of the limiting in the state of Wyoming. Again, very, very few Wyoming customers are being limited. Less than 1% of Wyoming customers are being limited by any of the operators. It's just not a very big practice. And from speaking to all the operators, it's not a big practice nationwide, but certainly not a big practice in Wyoming. Again, to touch on what I spoke about last time, we have never had a complaint in our office from a Wyoming patron about being limited on their wagers. Going through all the data, the limits that we found are not, back in November when Spanky was here and spoke to you guys, he was talking about people being limited to pennies. We did not find that, at least here in Wyoming. I'm not saying that that doesn't occur, but not here in Wyoming. There were people that were limited to $500 on particular wagers, $1,000 on particular wagers. Percentages, but as low as 25% of whatever specific limit everybody had on that particular wager. So nothing that we would call extreme. We did not, as staff, find anything concerning whatsoever with any of the practices. Frankly, the only reason that I didn't include anything in the packet to show you, and I certainly can try to compile something for the next meeting if you would like to, is because everybody gave us the information in a different form, and it was really hard to decipher individually. I mean, it took a lot. So to try to compile it all together for you guys to see would be difficult. I could try to combine it, but if you would like, but again, there just wasn't anything concerning out of the list. I'd stand for any questions if anybody has any.
Perfect, thank you. Any questions of anyone for Mike? Anything under general updates?
I don't think I really have much under general updates. There has been some discussion in sports wagering recently, or some questions coming up nationally on the idea of futures markets, which is not something we fully have wrapped our minds around, but it has some sort of combination of sports wagering and stock market implications. On one side, people are arguing it's the stock market. On the other side, people are saying it's sports wagering. So there's questions on its legality on either side. We're looking into it. We'll keep you updated and apprised as to, there are some court cases federally right now, nationally, to kind of determine. There are some stock exchanges that are doing this nationally. I think you can even do it here in Wyoming, under a stock exchange. So we're looking into whether this is sports wagering or a stock exchange. We'll report back when we figure it out.
Thank you. Commissioner Ritholler.
Thank you, President Cavella. So just flat playing the stock exchange is not called wagering?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll give you an instance. I play what they call cowboy keno. That's what they call it, cowboy keno. And what it is, you buy it a year in advance, your moisture content for the year. Federal government backs it. That's a true story. And I'm really a little hurt. I think I lost $13,000 already because it rained at the wrong time. And that's a federally program. Maybe the USDA will take it out now, but so I don't know if that qualifies for gambling or not, but so.
Hell, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it looked dry to me, so I put one down and it accidentally rained at the wrong time.
President Cavello, I don't want to put Commissioner Wildcat on the spot, but if she has anything to say about these, I know she has some good knowledge about these futures and how this thing is working out.
Yes, Commissioner Wildcat. would
If she
you like-
wants to.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Nick. This is something is fairly, it's been out there for a bit, but it's still fairly new. That just kind of come to the forefront recently. It's been, there's several different entities that are looking at this as well. We've noticed it in the Indian gaming industry. It's the predictions market is what it is, and it does encompass everything from sports wagering to whether or not it's going to rain, what the temperature is in LA for the day, or whether the Nuggets are going to win the next game, that type of thing. So what you do is you buy contracts. You can buy a certain amount. And you can sell. It's just basically like playing the market. They are looking at who's going to be the one to regulate it. Right now, they're looking at the CFTC, I believe, for them to regulate it. There's really no restrictions on it right now. It can happen whenever, wherever. We're actually able to purchase contracts here on the reservation. So that's one of those things. That's why we're looking at it too. Like I said, and like I had mentioned, We just don't know. We don't have those straight answers right now. Things are really rolling out pretty quickly on it. If we find anything out or if we get any more information on it, we will definitely forward it Nick's way so he can disseminate it to the rest of y'all. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I can try and explain it to the best of my ability, but the knowledge isn't solid and it isn't concrete at this time. So feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Commissioner Wildcat. We appreciate it. Anyone else on that subject? If not, we'll move along to item number 10. President and Vice President's reports. I really don't have a lot. I just wanted maybe to make a quick statement or two. Obviously, since the time I came on the commission, we talked a little bit about this yesterday at the county commissioners meeting in Lander. The commission has changed drastically, you know. This used to be the parimutuel commission. We used to be pretty much concerned with horse racing and so forth, but obviously we look at a wide and wild gamut of things going on, tremendous amount of money, good income to the state and stuff like that. But I think within that, we need to keep in context the fact that these things can have some huge effects on people. And there are people that suffer from maladies, and with some of this gaming comes some maybe not so perfect things. And so we need to be aware of what goes on in our society, and certainly encourage everyone to look out for those that need help with regards to gaming, and making sure that we're aware that society can have some negative effects from some of this. So that being said, how about you, Vice President? You got anything?
Just one thing. So how does the staff view having not answering to the TRW committee versus having its own select committee? Is that move through the legislature faster that way, or how do you?
President Covello, Vice President Riddle, I think it's a good thing. You know, we now have a select committee that its sole purpose is gaming. So we're not going to get mixed with grizzly bears or other travel. Their focus will be 100% on gaming during their meetings. So I think it's going to be a good thing.
Director, your time.
Thank you, President Covello. I just have a few things just kind of briefly go over. In March, we were able to send a couple of our inspectors to the annual Organization of Racing Investigators Conference. It's a 3-day conference that was held in Kentucky this year. It's all for racetrack investigators and law enforcement. It's a really good training for our folks that are working the races. All of our sworn staff, myself included, attended the 2025 WASCOP Leadership Conference at the Ramkota last week, the week before last. We're starting to work with A&I and ETS on our budgeting for all of our electronics, software, replacement, stuff like that. So we're making progress on that. That includes all of any requirements that we may have for software updates or hardware updates. The last couple of months, I've been focusing a lot on education and outreach as much as possible. I've done several interviews, one with Wyoming Public Radio. I met with the Wyoming Tribune Eagle editorial board a couple of weeks ago. As President Covello said, him and I and Sarah Beth attended the Wyoming County Commissioners Association meeting yesterday in Lander. We're trying to get as much education out there to anybody that we can as possible. And then I would just remind you also that at the end of next month, I'll be going to San Antonio to the National Center for Spectator Sports and Safety. That's where I will be speaking on the rule changes that you all had made for the player harassment. So they had asked me to come speak to that. Looks like the nation actually is looking to us, and they think that we did something that is great. So they wanted us to speak about it. So, and then lastly, you all received for those of you that are here, you received a copy of the annual report, a hard copy of it. Those that are not here received an email copy of it. If you could just look through that. I hate to have you do it over the weekend, but if you could do it maybe over the weekend or even today, and just let me know. My plan is to release this to the public on Monday afternoon, so I'd have it published on our website and everything else on Monday. But if you see anything amiss or awry, let me know if you could. And that is all I have, sir.
Thank you, Director Larramendi. I guess we'll move past item C, as that's on the consent agenda, and move right into the Breeders' Awards.
President Covello, I guess I'm going to take that one.
Okay.
So this one actually is fairly easy. If you look at page 135 in your packet, you'll see we had received a quote from Elite Trophies for $10,445. This would be for the 2024 awards for the Wyoming Bred Program. This is what we do every year. So on this, I'd actually be looking for a motion to accept this estimate so we can go ahead and get these ordered for the 2024 banquet in 2025.
All right.
I will move to accept the bid as presented.
We have a motion to accept the estimate as presented. Do I hear a second? Second. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Any hands raised? Any discussion amongst the public? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Is that it for breeders?
President Covello, it is.
Let's move right on to the RHSA discussion.
President Covello, and this, I had forwarded you all an email about a month ago that I had received from Mrs. Kelsey from the Ingram Group. They are looking for support for the RHSA to replace the HISA Act. After I sent some of this information out, we thought it would probably be best to put this on the agenda. Mr. Schiffer is probably the expert in this field, so he will probably take the reins on this. Ultimately, I guess what I'm looking for would be your direction. You know, I'm not going to throw the commission's support behind anything until you all give me the blessing to throw your support behind it. So we can discuss this, and then you can give me some advice on what you want me to do.
Okay, very good. At this point, Commissioner Schiffer, would you care to speak on this subject?
Oh, thank you, Mr. President, and I'm going to be very brief. As you know, HISA has been enacted by Congress to oversee all thoroughbred racing. We haven't had it come to play in Wyoming. We've been avoiding that. Now the HBPA has come up with an alternative, and we've discussed this before with but now that they've introduced legislation to make it to get rid of the HISA and basically have a compact amongst the states where the state agencies oversee racing. It does include all racing, quarter horse, which is not covered by HISA, and standard bred racing, which may be covered by HISA. They're thinking that it's going to be much less onerous, much less expensive. The budget for HISA is about $85 million a year, which comes from the state agencies. So they're looking at a kind of a simpler alternative. Whether or not it has traction or not, I had Nick forward you kind of the HBPA platform on this, and you can see all the different groups that are supporting it. I think it would be a better fit for Wyoming than HISA, just simply because we do have the framework to deal with the racing issues already in place, and would just kind of complement those things on a national level. So this is my opinion. I think we should back the RHSA plan, even though I doubt there's much possibility that it will be enacted. But other people may have differing opinions, but thank you for the time.
Thank you, Commissioner Schiffer. Anyone else care to opine?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Davis.
I agree with Commissioner Schiffer. I think this is what we're looking for in Wyoming, and it doesn't just single out one particular style of horse. It engulfs everything. So this is what the industry needs going forward, where the HISA has been very contested from the beginning. And I think finally it's been proven out that it is not good. So I think this is an excellent thing for us, or you, to get behind. And me as a horse owner, I think it's really a good idea. But once again, not much different than the HISA is it'll take a state action in order to get behind this, I believe. I don't know, and Mr. Laramendi may be able to tell us if you have the ability to get behind it or not without an action from the state legislature. But that was my opinion that on the HISA before, was the commission couldn't act alone. It had to act through the legislation.
Okay. And I guess that's a good question. Maybe we'll ask Director Laramendi and Mr. Kaler to look into and see if this requires action at the legislative level, or if commission action actually makes a difference.
President Broussard, so this wouldn't require any sort of legislative action. What they're asking for is just if the Wyoming Gaming Commission supports their initiative to try to have HISA replaced.
Okay.
As it stands right now, we don't have any current legislation that even allows us to take part in any sort of HISA activities. That failed this last year. So yeah, this is just looking for, I guess, your all support in what they're trying to do at a national level.
Myself, I would concur with Commissioner Schiffer and Representative Davis in this. I think this is definitely the way for us to go. Any opinion from anyone else?
I got it.
You got an opinion?
I don't know why we need either. We didn't have a choice. Just my opinion.
Commissioner Bowl.
So, Mr. President, do we need a motion authorizing the director to send a letter to the appropriate person indicating that the commission supports?
That would be appropriate.
So I'll make that motion.
So we have a motion.
Mr. Schiffer will second it.
We have a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. President,
Vice President Ritholler.
does that mean if we do this, does that mean if it goes through, we are a part of it then? Do we still have?
President Cabello, Vice President Ritholler, no, this is just that we support their efforts
To do this.
to try to come up with a simpler solution than HISA.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Very good. Moving on, compliance report.
President Cavello, in your packet, starting on page 142, you'll see a memo about the compliance report as well as several actions that have been taken. I'll just kind of briefly go over the compliance report in general. In around February of 2025, the commission was made aware of numerous license holders taking part in unsanctioned and/or otherwise illegal match racing in neighboring jurisdictions, whether that be Utah, Idaho, Nevada. We've identified, I want to say, 13 individuals that have been taking part in those. They have all been issued letters or notices of, let's see, what would it be? Notice of complaint, intent to file a complaint. We are working with the other Attorney General, Mr. Marvel, to facilitate those. You will be seeing those come before you all as an action item for disciplinary actions for these license holders. And that's about the best that I can say on that one right now. You will, like I said, you will get the whole case files for those once we get those moved forward, and you'll see the details about those. Since January 21st, 2025, agents and inspectors have conducted 79 OTB location inspections across the state. During those inspections, they've issued 2 notices of violations for Casper area OTBs. These notices of violations were for the terminals not displaying the races across the top of the screen, as they are required to do by rule. It was pretty easy to fix once the machines were power cycled. The replays of the races came across. So that was corrected pretty easily. The same notice was actually issued in Rock Springs at a different OTB. What we have found is this had to do with a software update glitch. And after the software update was pushed through, the machines needed to be power cycled. So I think we've got that corrected. We shouldn't have that problem anymore. I believe also in your packet, you will see a notice of violation was sent out to AGT, or Ainsworth Game Technologies. Staff has been struggling, specifically the accounting side has been struggling very much with some reports. The TRPB has been struggling with some reports and doing audits. We were getting some very late reports, which was causing, our staff and the TRPB to fall behind in their duties to get wagering activity reports completed at a respectable time. Ainsworth Game Technology has worked very diligently in fixing that. It appears that they've gotten their things pretty well squared away, and that should not be an issue moving forward either. Since January 1st, 2025, agents and inspectors have inspected 846 individual skill games across the state. We also had a couple of notices of violations to those instances. In March, a location was issued a notice of violation for failure to monitor and restrict entry, which is a violation of Chapter 4, Section 6 of our Gaming Commission rules. Those machines were disabled until they could make corrective action to ensure that that place was being monitored to prohibit 21 and under. After they resolved it, it was re-inspected and they had made the correct changes that they needed to. On the same day in Laramie, another location was issued a notice of violation for operating a terminal without a decal. This is in violation of Chapter 4, Section 3. This is also a state statute violation. Wyoming State Law 1125-304B says that all terminals must have the decals prior to operation or being offered to the public. That terminal was also disabled until corrective action was taken. After the corrective action was taken, it was re-inspected and the corrective measures were taken. However, with that one, it was later determined that that machine had been placed in service weeks prior to the commission ever being told that that terminal was moved. So that is another one that you will all be seeing as a notice of violation before you all. And lastly, on April 9th, 2025, we had closure on a Casper criminal case. In your packet, you will see I think it's about a 5-page summary of that case. But the easy thing is we had an individual here, a Scott Schroeffel, 54. He ended up pleading guilty to 1 count of illegal gambling in the Natrona County District Court. This guilty plea was the result of over a years-long investigation into online illegal gambling. They were running iGaming out of this coffee shop. You would come and you would buy credits and drive away and play on your phone, and then if you won, you would come back and cash those out. What kind of brought this to our attention is we actually had somebody win a substantial amount, and of course, when they went to go get their money, that substantial amount was unavailable. There's nothing that we can do for that. Like, we can't help a patron get money when they're conducting an illegal gambling. However, we could do what we did, and we were able to get that closed down. So I would stand for any questions on any of those complaints or notices of violations that you all may have.
Any questions? Commissioner Schiffer, please, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Laramendi, regarding these 13 individuals, or I guess are either horses or individuals who are running in match races, are they going to be allowed to run at our meets this summer or starting today? What's the situation with that?
President Broussard, Commissioner Schiffer, it's kind of a split of some of them. So some of them don't currently hold a license, and they are on an active do not process list, so they don't have a license. and they can't get a license until they enter into an agreement or until you all adjudicate that. The people that have a license through, they can continue to operate or continue to participate until you all determine the action that should be taken against their license. We have been working with Mr. Marvel on, several of them have reached out to our office or the AG's office, wanting to clear this up and enter into some sort of settlements. Mr. Marvel has been working that with several of these license holders to come up with the proper stipulations on their licenses with fines and probationary periods and whatnot. But that'll all come to you all for you all to determine if you feel that's appropriate or if you would rather it be something else. That's entirely up to you. Does that help?
Just to follow up, so as it stands, if number 1 of 13 enters a horse for tomorrow in Gillette, he's going to be allowed to run, even though that horse may have run in a match race and have won, and he's still eligible to run in a maiden race for a horse that's never won a race and have an unfair advantage. I mean, I don't think that's a good practice on our part to allow that kind of behavior. So, it's a little worrisome to me at the commission level. But I don't know what else to do about it unless you all have some ideas. Thank you.
President Covello, Commissioner Schiffer, yeah, at this time, we go under our disciplinary proceedings. And that's kind of the way that they're laid out, and that's kind of the way we have to do it. I don't disagree with you at all. I will say that there is a few of those people, like I said, that don't have a license. It's easy for us to deny issuing a license before it comes to you all versus them already having a license. The commission as a body has to take action against that. The staff doesn't have the authority to do any sort of, punitive damages to their license without your all's blessing. So, but that's something that we could definitely look at if if you all found certain violations that you wanted a set penalty for, that would actually be a good idea, I think.
What, Mr. President, just one more follow-up. Can't the stewards, if you present evidence to the stewards that a horse is run in a match race in violation of our rules, can't the stewards then take action to stop that from happening? At least till the interim, till we can get these cases before us? Thank you.
President Covello, Commissioner Schiffer, yeah, they absolutely could do that. The problem that we have on that end is being able to identify the actual horses that were running in the match race. We've identified the persons that were taking part in that. But if we are able to identify a specific horse that was running in a match race, we could absolutely send that to the stewards and they could scratch that horse and they could not let it enter. But right now, we're only able to identify the persons involved, not the actual horses.
Once again, just to follow up, can't the stewards bring that individual in and put them under oath and ask them, did you run the horse in a match race? I mean, we should be able to, get a hold of this kind of thing, because it's really defrauding the betting public when these individuals do this. And that's the reason we put the rule in place, was to protect the public. I mean, they should be able to have a hearing and put the people under oath and find out what horses they ran and then act accordingly. I mean, I just don't think we should sit on this thing. Thank you.
President Covello, I'll continue to work with Mr. Kaler and see if we have, or Mr. Marvel and Mr. Kaler, to see if we have other avenues. The only thing that I can say is it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to identify the horse. A lot of these, that are being brought to our attention, they're happening across state lines. And we're being able to identify people based on photographs and videos. But, a bay mare is a bay mare is a bay mare, and they may have a barn full of 5 bay mares, and it's it's difficult to tie a horse to it versus the person to it. So I think we're stepping in the right direction, holding the individual license holders accountable for their actions. And if we can come up with a good way to identify the horses and move that, I would love to see that as well. So we'll keep working through that, though.
Very good, and we will be seeing this coming forward shortly.
Yes, you will.
Okay, very good, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I guess that's it with the compliance report. We are ready to move through. Item number 11 was on the consent agenda. I will miss having Nick mispronounce a lot of names, but we'll move forward without that. We'll move on to number 12, rules, discussion, consideration, and possible action on the following matters. And we've got adoption of.
President Covello, item 12A is the final adoption of Online Sports Wagering Rules, Chapter 1, General Provisions. This was submitted for public comment. The public comment ended on March 29th, 2025. There were no public comments received. These were the rules that you had all worked regarding the player harassment and folks found to be in violation or folks found to be harassing players will now be involuntarily banned from sports wagering in the state of Wyoming. So on this one, actually, for it's Chapter 1 and Chapter 8. We would be looking for a motion to adopt them.
Okay.
President.
Go ahead, Vice President Ritholz.
I would make a motion to approve. Adopt, excuse me.
Okay, we have a motion to
I will
adopt.
I'm happy to second that.
W Chapter 1, General Provisions.
I'm happy to second that.
Okay, and second. Okay, are we going chapter at a time?
President Covello, that's correct. So this would be Chapter 1.
So
and then
Chapter
we'll do
1 will be
Chapter
the
8.
first part. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to adopt OSW Chapter 1, General Provisions. Any discussion with regards to that motion? Discussion from the public? Any hands raised? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item B. That would be Chapter 8.
That is correct, Mr. President.
Okay, so moving on for basically the same deals, that would be Chapter 8. Need a motion to adopt responsible gaming and advertising.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Bowl,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Wildcat. Is there any discussion? Discussion amongst the public. Any hands raised? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item C.
President Covello, item C is parimutuel wagering final adoption rules, Chapter 3, the appeals, protest, and hearings. This one also ended public comment at the end of March. No public comment was received. This one was clearing up a lot of unnecessary language and removing it. We added some additional language in the informal stewards hearings. And then we incorporated a lot of the uniform rules for contested case hearings, contested case practice and procedures that was adopted by the Office of OAH. So on this one, yeah, we would be looking for a motion to adopt parimutuel rules, Chapter 3.
Okay, looking for a motion to adopt parimutuel Chapter 3, appeals, protests, and hearings.
Commissioner Schiffer moves to adopt parimutuel
Have a
Chapter
motion from
3.
Commissioner Schiffer. I hear a second.
I'll second that.
Second from Vice President Ritholz. Discussion amongst the commissioners. Discussion amongst the public. Any hands raised? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Motion carries. Item D, general rules discussion.
President Covello, the general rules, that's really easy. Those of you that volunteered to be on the Rules Committee, if you could just send me some dates and times that would work for you all to meet. Mr. Kaler is also going to be a part of those, so we can really try to streamline the rule process and how we go through rules. We can start with a lot of the rules that were recommendations from the safety inspections that were completed. We have a lot of that stuff drafted already, so we can, give this a shot and see how it works, and hopefully it's a lot cleaner. So just send me dates and times that would work for you, and we'll put some stuff together.
Okay, very good. That does it for rules. Do we have any need for executive session?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Moving on to meeting dates and discussion.
President Covello, the next meeting will be July 18th, 2025. That'll be offered in person in this room. We'll also have the Zoom link available. It's actually already on our website if you go through the calendar. After that one, we'll have our September meeting on the 19th, same time, same place. And then our annual fall meeting is scheduled for November 20th and 21st.
Any discussion with regards to meetings and dates? Times and places? Mr. Lamb.
President Covello, members of the commission, we hadn't really thought this one out, but when I saw this date on the agenda, I thought, well, that's a Friday, and we're racing on Fridays in Evanston at Wyoming Downs, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to Nick about this. Sorry, Nick, I just thought of it as we were sitting back there and Judy and I were talking, but post time on Fridays is going to be 3. As you guys know, because you approved it, we race every Friday in July, and we're really excited about it, and it might be a good opportunity to get everybody there. I obviously won't be here because I'll be there, but I'm a little prejudiced that way, but just want to throw that out there as an invitation. Oh, and also, June 29th is a legislative day.
Yes, that's send out invitations.
And we've sent invitations out for that, so that would be a great day to be there as well.
President Covello, along those lines, for those of you that didn't receive an invitation in the mail, that's because they came to our office. I will make sure that you get those forthwith.
Yeah. Absolutely, go ahead. Go ahead, who wants the floor?
Nick, what's the implications of moving our meeting if that were complications?
The main complication, now that we hold these meetings, not only in person, but virtually, is the virtual part. That has become, this room is wired perfectly for the virtual meetings with the microphones and the sounds and the cameras. It is a little more difficult taking that show on the road.
Mr. Chairman, yes, Nick, and we were kind of thinking about that. There's, I don't know if you've been to the Roundhouse in Evanston, and Commissioner Bowl, you may be able to speak to this better than I, but they have some fantastic meeting rooms, and I can check and see what the internet setup and all of that is, because I know that there's been a lot of fairly high-level meetings taking place there in the last couple of years.
Commissioner Bowl.
Yeah, Evanston would be able to accommodate this commission. I talked to Charlie last year about moving the meeting to Evanston. And the consideration was Evanston is a long ways from every place in Wyoming. And it's just not horse racing that we consider and regulate now. It's skill-based machines and other types of things. And so I guess this commission did have a practice at one time of traveling around. And they found that to be problematic for a lot of the participants. So I would love to have a meeting in Evanston, but I'm probably the only one. And so they got a great facility in Evanston. The city's redone the roundhouse. We do meetings there all the time. It has great access to the web and all that stuff. But there's a lot more to the decision than that, as I learned when I brought it up last year. It kind of got put in my place. I just throw that out for your
Still a
consideration.
little bit bummed out about that.
Yeah. Still, I learned that there's a long history and that there are issues with traveling it around. So I think a couple commissions ago or something, they kind of settled on the idea we need to have our meetings in a central location, that being Casper. And so take that into consideration. But if you decide to go to Evanston, you will not hear a dissenting vote from me.
Mr. President,
Mr. Broussard.
if it's not a burden on the staff, I'm leaning towards that, mainly for the educational value of all of us touring the facilities, if we haven't done that, maybe seeing what's new out there, seeing it on site. That's the way I lean. I think the educational value for me is worth driving another hour or two.
Is that all it is for you?
Then we get to go to Bonrico's, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Ridgway, did you want to address the commission with regards to the,
Not with regards to this issue, Mr. President.
say again?
I said not with regard to this specific issue.
Okay.
I had a separate item, so I don't want to get anybody off track
Okay.
on changing meeting locations.
And then another point, I think if we ask the other operators, if we could do one annual meeting at a racetrack or even at another facility that's skills-based or anything, I think it's an advantage for us to do one meeting a year where we can see stuff and put hands on. That's just my 2 cents.
With regards to that, Ruben and I were able to, and I think Dick, you were there too, at the JAC meeting up in Gillette, and we got to tour 307, and it was very beneficial to me, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I probably have the furthest drive of anybody to Evanston because it's clear diagonally across the state, not straight across. It's further than Yellowstone Park, I know that. But, you know, what Commissioner was making the remark that we need to do that, but I don't know if we need to do it with a conjunction to our meeting. As Commissioner Bowles said, we do a lot more than just horse racing. But I think it'd behoove us to be able to see the different sites, but maybe not have an official meeting where everybody has to be there. So, but that would be my comments. And I was just like on June 29th, if somebody showed up to the legislative, is it legislative race day or governor's day? No, legislative. The governor's part of it. Yeah, but if a person was to show up, you might be able to get to look around the track a little bit. But anyway, I think maybe the meetings ought to be here because we do talk about a lot of things. But it might not be bad to have commissioners go see different facilities.
I mean, the governor's coming to Gillette June 13th, which is what I was going to say. So you have an opportunity at the Gillette track on the 13th. You have the event that Wyoming Downs does on the 29th of June. And I'm not going to speak for Wyoming Horse Racing, but typically they host folks out there. So I think there's ample opportunities for any of the commission members in the different parts of the state to go to Gillette, Rock Springs, or Evanston, kind of at their pleasure, or anybody that wants to come at any time. I'm sure all three operators are more than happy to host folks, have them up there even on a non-special day, right? Like,
President Cavello, along those lines, if anybody If any commission member chose to go any weekend, find your way to the licensing office. You know, we have staff there all weekend. We have investigators there, so they can make sure that they can hook you up with management or whatever to help facilitate that too, so.
Yeah, Steve Menace, Wyoming Horse Racing. Same with us. If anytime you want to visit a site, I know I've had different commissioners, actually members from, the state come down and visit. So we're always, welcome to visit, to give you a tour of any site, especially our larger sites in Cheyenne. And then we're building one in Evanston. It won't be as far along as we like by if you guys move it to Evanston, but you get to at least see what's going on there. But at any time, anywhere, we're more than accommodating for anybody.
Thank you.
Mr. President, they always.
Yes, Representative Davis.
Yeah, the nice thing about traveling around the state is you get a different perspective when you're in one corner of the state from the other side of the state. So, we used to understand that, and then we got a little more complicated with the different issues that come forth. But I think you can balance that with today's technology and achieve your goal of being closer to the people.
So I'm hearing lots of opinions. What is your pleasure?
President Covello, I'm here to take direction from you all. If you would like me to check into that building to see if it would facilitate the virtual part of this, I can do that, and then I can, blast an email out and let you all know what I find. And then you can let me know.
So let's just do a straw poll. How many of you would be amenable to the July meeting being in Evanston?
It's only 8 hours.
I've been there.
Only an 8-hour drive.
Okay.
I don't know what your problem is.
Okay, very good. Report back, Nick. We'll see what happens.
I will.
I like your country, but it's a long.
We are at the point for general discussion and public comment. Does the public have any comment for us today? Because we're willing to listen. We are. General discussion, comment on anything of any kind?
Probably, but I don't know what it is. Brandy's not here. Yeah, we'll send it out.
Okay.
So along the Breeders' Award banquet this year will be held in Gillette. Last year it was held in Rock Springs. As soon as I get the date or know the date, I will, 24th of June. So June 24th is where the annual awards banquet in Gillette will be. For the Breeders' Awards, yep. And last year, actually, it was a great turnout. There was.
June 21?
There was a lot.
Right around there.
Do we have any more business for the commission? If not, we will adjourn. Thank you all.
Ruben, if you stay in the car, you can do it in 7.5.